When I headed out on my first solo adventure back in 2020, the furthest that I had traveled on my bike in one day was 400 miles. At the time that I left on that summer trip, I was really struggling with feelings of shame and worthlessness. I had just finished a battle with throat cancer and gone through a second divorce, and at the time I felt like I had made too many mistakes for God to ever use me for good again. But I was beginning to learn to face my fears. And when I reached Custer, South Dakota, I made the decision to attempt to complete something called an Iron Butt Association ride. Now, the name of this organization might sound like a rather indelicate joke, but it's actually an internationally recognized group that certifies motorcyclists who travel long distances in short periods of time. And I made the decision that I would rather attempt to complete such an endurance ride and fail than to not attempt it because I might fail. So I headed out from Custer, South Dakota, heading east, and my goal was to make it to St. Joseph's, Michigan. And it was true that I encountered a variety of problems. There were strong crosswinds and road construction. I had difficulty finding gas in the middle of the night, especially with it being the height of the pandemic and a lot of stations being closed or closed early. And I also had to travel through parts of the country that were unfamiliar to me. But as I encountered a variety of obstacles and prayed to God for strength and courage, I ended up traveling even further than I thought, and I made it to Niagara Falls, riding over 1,500 miles in less than 36 hours. And what I learned by completing this rather arduous trip was that with God by my side, I was a much stronger person than I had realized. And this dawning realization was a way that I was beginning to learn to live my life more fully. I like to call it living at full throttle. What would you do if fear were not your first thought?